Why do we believe in what we believe? That's the question I have for today. I've consulted 2 conspiracy theorists to be able to talk to them about why they believe in their beliefs, how they kind of came into them, any possible rabbit holes they may have fell down, and most importantly, have direct conversation to be able to understand these people better, as, you know, they're more common than you might think. This is proof pending why we believe. Leamington Spa. I'm here today to talk to Ethan about his beliefs. Hopefully I can get some good answers.
I got into them through YouTube when I was a kid. You know, you'd see this video with a crazy thumbnail and it just suck you in. When you're a kid, you believe anything, really, don't you? And then I'd say it evolved through social media. Like you'd be scrolling and you'd see this thing and it hooked you in. And that's a lot of what social media is now, just posting things to get attention, even though they probably don't even believe it themselves half the time. I wholeheartedly believe that the US government murdered their own commander-in-chief, John F. Kennedy, on the 22nd of November 1963. I think what took place in Dallas was a coup d'etat, and it resulted in a new president. And it was a new president who ramped up the war in Vietnam and adhered to his own government's beliefs, which Kennedy opposed.
So you mentioned that's the one you wholeheartedly believe, but are there any others you just kind of believe in general?
I think the death of Diana is a bit suspicious. Some strange circumstances surrounding that. I also think that the Great Pyramids in Egypt, I think maybe ancient aliens helped us build those. You know, with how eerily accurate the pyramids are to the world in general. I think it sits in the middle of the earth, pointing directly north, directly south, directly west, directly east. You know, there's a lot of strange coincidences with the pyramids that I think the ancient Egyptians couldn't have done alone. What else have we got? I guess what do you call it? The deep state is a good one. I think that definitely exists. I don't think that's just a conspiracy anymore. I think there's a lot of evidence to suggest that does exist. And there are a shadowy group of people manipulating events behind the scenes.
Explain the deep state a little further. I've never heard of it.
Never heard of the deep state?
No.
So basically, the deep state is a shadowy group of people who manipulate events behind the scenes.
Oh.
So they control the wars, they control the money.
Governments.
You know, very powerful people. And I definitely think they exist. It's just about proving whether they exist.
See, I noticed that a lot of it is corruption you believe in. You believe corruption is happening.
Yeah.
But it's not, you're not like a flat earther in any way. You just believe that there's just more going on behind the scenes which we'll never find out about.
Oh yeah, of course. I think if you're ignorant to that fact, you're kind of almost a sheep that the deep state wants. They want to control you. They don't want you asking questions. You know, critical thinking is as important now as it ever was. You know, you have to be critical in what you're told. You have to ask questions. You have to be more inquisitive rather than just accepting everything you're told.
All right, Ethan. Well, it's been brilliant to talk to you. Thank you so much for taking part in the film.
Thanks for having me on.
That was interesting. It was definitely kind of an educational experience to talk to Ethan. Now I want to talk to somebody else. I want to talk to a guy I know called Jack. Jack's been a friend for a while, and he's got his own set of conspiracy theories. What's important, though, is his is kind of revolving around something, and that's being football. And this is definitely where we need to talk about a question of, you know, young people getting into conspiracy theories. Then probably not just kind of come into them out of nowhere, just fall into rabbit holes, it's more likely that they're going to come into them because of interests they have. And that's exactly what it's like with Jag. They revolve mostly around football, and that is what I want to talk to him about. Okay, so I'm here with Jack. He's told me that he's got some conspiracy theories of his own. I'm here to ask him the same questions I asked Ethan, just to get another perspective on it. So, Jack, what started your interest in conspiracy theories?
I'm not sure. I've always been a pretty curious person. You know, I'm to be honest, I've always had a bit of a feeling of like drama, you know, that goes on in the world. I just feel like something's not right. When you realise how easy it is to hide things from the people that are closest to you, and all the secrets that you can hide from them and everything, you think it's more than capable for a lot more people or groups of the world to do the same.
Absolutely.
There's things that are definitely hidden from us, and conspiracies out there that genuinely will be true, which we've learned a lot of.
So I was interested in you having specific conspiracy theories on certain subjects, which are like football.
Yes, yeah, football is the main one. I've got a lot of conspiracy theories about.
Let's hear some.
So my main conspiracy is a bit of a belief that there is a lot of dodgy money running through the sport, and maybe a lot of other sports as well, but mainly football. Being a big football fan, I've seen it a lot in football, and I feel like a lot of teams get more given to them, and they coincidentally get a lot more decisions made in favour of them. They're more in favour than other teams, and it always seems to be the teams that are doing better and they're a lot richer. So I feel like there's a lot of dirty money running through football to make decisions more favoured towards certain teams, whether that's funneled through the referees, especially the referees. I feel like there's a lot of dodgy stuff going on with the referees, and maybe members of the FA as well. I feel like probably like corrupt. You know, there's a lot of I don't know the word to say. You know, basically just like corrupt.
When I talked to Ethan, he had a lot of conspiracies, and they all boiled down to just distrust of big companies, corruption. Just basically thinking that corruption is evident in certain places. I'm curious, obviously, you know, you're a big football guy, so you're going to have ones about football. Are there any others in any other areas of life that you kind of believe? Not really.
No, not any that spring to mind. That's one. The one I mentioned is like something that I've been exposed to a lot, so I'm really passionate about it. So.
Oh, well, that's like Ethan with JFK, then, interestingly. When I was trying to get others to be interviewed for this documentary, things kind of fell through due to them disliking being labelled as a conspiracy theorist.
Oh, okay.
However, you and Ethan have no problem with that name, and I was wondering, why is that?
I'm not sure. I understand it from another perspective, because in my personal opinion, if someone, you know, labels you as a conspiracy theorist, you know, a lot of people they just like to fit into the norm, you know, and act like everything's normal. So once something different happens, they get labelled as different, you know, they're a bit of an anomaly in society. So I fully understand that, but for me, I just feel like every person in the world is so different. They come from such different backgrounds and walks of life. There's going to be differences into the way they think and the way they believe certain things that go on. So I'm more just embracing that, and I feel like people who don't mind being labelled as conspiracy theorists are people that are just embracing the fact that they are different, and these things that they think and these differences from the norm that they think are weird and coincidental and conspiracies. You know, to them it's important. So, but to other people it might not be. So.
Now, going back to the fact that you don't have any kind of disliking to being labelled as one, do you think it may have something to do with the generation you're in and the inclusion of social media in that generation?
Yeah, I think everybody now is and I think social media has been good in that fact, because so many people are able to express themselves now, so people aren't scared to come out and it's like saying what you believe in, you know, it's important nowadays, and that's what conspiracy theorists are about. Even if it might not be right in someone else's head, it's right in your head.
You're kind of talking about how with social media you can kind of find out that a lot of other people kind of think the same thing.
Yeah, and like I said, like social media, for all of its bad doing, social media, it gives people that platform to express themselves, be anonymous, and just be different. And it's great nowadays, and especially in this generation, a lot of that is, one, embraced, and two, pushed forward, you know.
Now, this is interesting because when you think of conspiracy theories, you know, the first thing you think of is going down a sort of rabbit hole on the internet. But when I talked to Ethan, he mainly cited a film for starting his interest in his. And yours sounds like it's been just kind of something that you've built up over thoughts about your interest. Is there any internet rabbit holes you kind of plunged down in?
Conspiracy theorists latch onto, especially me anyway, with the one I've got. I feel like it's better to latch onto that belief that it is real, other than going down a rabbit hole and realising that everything that you think that you believed in might be proved wrong. But that's the whole point of it being a conspiracy. No one knows what's actually real nowadays.
Yeah.
Until it's shoved in your face and it's proved completely right by people that you trust. But like in social media and just in the media in general, you can't trust anybody nowadays with what they say. You don't know, especially with all the Epstein stuff that's coming out. You don't know what's real and what's not anymore. It's really
can't trust anything.
Yeah, it's really tough. So I feel like I've never went down like any rabbit holes within my because there's got to be like a football referee that's been proved to be corrupt, you know, that's been given dirty money for making certain decisions from, you know, certain people. There's got to be something about it somewhere, but no, it's never something I've actively looked at, but I would like to.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting. All right then, well, that being it, thank you so much for your time.
You're most welcome, thank you.
So, what have I learned? Conspiracies are truly interesting to me. How they form, where you find them, how they spread. It's been really interesting talking to Jack and Ethan. My main takeaway point from both of those interviews is corruption. Both of those two believe that corruption is evident in the world we live in today, and they cite examples. Ethan's may be a world that we no longer live in just simply from being it so long ago. But Jack is definitely a more present theme and it's something you could argue for and you could bring up decent evidence for. So that leaves one big question. From what I've learned, from what the time I've spent talking to these two, and from the positive experience I've had interviewing both of them, have they convinced me? Do I now have any conspiracy theories after such that I will spread just as well and be as passionate to talk about in somebody else's documentary just like these two? The short answer is no. Yeah, sure, I could believe that corruption exists. In fact, I do believe corruption exists, but I wouldn't focus on a certain moment like Ethan does, or a certain area like Jack does. Instead, I would just kind of keep it with me as information to go forward. When I make decisions about possibly who to trust when it comes to future elections maybe, or just that, knowing that corruption is everywhere, yeah, that will probably, that will probably have an effect on who I decide to vote for, to trust, but I didn't learn that from this documentary. I knew corruption was evident. The thing is that focusing such a large part of yourself on it, I don't see the point of. It's been interesting to talk to them, but overall, I'm still the same person I was when I started this documentary. I've learned loads, but nothing about myself. This was proof pending, why we believe.